Discussing about functions in Python. So functions are present in most of the programming languages, and before starting our chapter we should first know what is a function. So function is a block of code which only runs when it is called, and you can pass data. This data is known as parameters, and this data can be passed into a function, and function can return data as a result. So now let's start with functions. In Python there is a keyword which is used to declare a function or to create a function. This keyword is known as def. As you can see, the color of this code is changed. If it would have been a variable, so here you can see it's white. So after def keyword you have to write a name of your function, like def your underscore function. And now you have to use colons, and once you have written this line of code, simply press enter in your idle or whatever IDE you are using. Now this is your function. Here you can write a piece of code. Here you will write what your function will do. So suppose you want to print something. Let's say print so we want to print this. Now here we have to call the function, and to call a function you have to simply write the name of function. Here your function is the name of this function, and you will use this round brackets or parenthesis and hit enter. When you will hit enter, this will print slide scope or whatever string you want to print. So in our function we were simply printing a string. We can do anything that we have learned so far. So this is how function works. Here you can see inside these brackets there no argument is passed or no parameters are specified. So next thing is, what are parameters in Python or any language? So information can be passed to functions as parameters. Suppose we have to pass some information to this function, so that information can be passed with the help of these parameters. These parameters can be taken from user. Parameters are specified after the function name and inside the parentheses, as you can see, and you can add as many parameters as you want, and you have to just separate your parameters with a comma. So to see that or to demonstrate, let's create another function. So again write def and some function. Suppose in this case name of our function is simply function, or we can write anything. Let's say we are creating a function called print underscore name. So we are giving a valid name to our function, a name that that says that this function will print some name. Okay, and simply use colons after definition of your function. Now here we can pass a parameter. This parameter is nothing but a variable. A variable can take any names. So here we are taking a parameter as a variable as a parameter. Now we will define what our print name function will do. So suppose we have to print the names of a print the first name and surname of a family, and surname is common, so we can simply write print f name plus we are concatenating first name with another name with the surname, and suppose surname is now in previous case we printed or we typed the name of this function. Here also we will type the name of this function, but here we will simply pass a value. Suppose and once you will hit enter, you will see that Mahesh Srivastav has been printed. Here you can see that this variable is also used here in this print function, and here we are printing the variable that whatever value user will provide and concatenating it with a string that we have written here. So this is how functions work in Python. Suppose we have to, let's take an example of another function. So let's create a function. Let's create a function def called sum, and here we are taking two variables x and y, and then we will simply print, or we can simply write x plus y. Now write sum, and as you can see here the color of sum is now not white, because sum is a reserved keyword or already a inbuilt function of Python. So let's create another function called add, again x comma y. So we cannot use function, we can define functions with names that are already or inbuilt functions, but we will not be able to print them, so avoid using common names. Now let's create a function called add, and now you can see it has not changed its color, and here we can simply write add 5, 6. So here you will see nothing is happening. Now, so in most of the cases, if you will simply write 5 plus 6, so you will get the answer, but inside a function we have to use print or whatever we want to do, like this. So similarly we can create a functions for multiplication, subtraction. We can, so here we have taken two parameters. In earlier examples we took only one parameter. So we can take as many parameters as we want. Suppose you have to print the area of a rectangle, so you can take two parameters and then simply print x into y. Two parameters can be length and width, and similarly you can also take three parameters a comma b comma c to print the area of a triangle. So area of a rectangle, area of a triangle, or anything you can do using these functions. Now there is also one way where we can define a function, and that function can take the default value. So let's define a function called def my underscore country, and again here we are defining that default country will be India in this case, and we are simply writing print I am from, and we can concatenate with our variable, and our variable in this case is country. So earlier in this example we were using a variable, and when user was or whenever we were passing a value in our function, so based on the definition our output was coming. Now in this case we have used a default value for our variable country. So now let's see how it works. Now I'll write my underscore country, and suppose the user puts USA here. Let's copy this. So user puts USA, so it will simply print I am from USA. Now let user put something else like Sweden maybe, then also you will see I am from Sweden. Now in some case, suppose user leaves it empty, as you can see here we were not using anything inside our parentheses, so the parameters column is empty. So let's print this, and here you can see that the default value of our variable India is printed to the screen. So this is how the default value of a function works. If we call the function without parameter, so it will use the default value. Now our next subtopic inside functions is returning a value, return a value or values. So returning values. Now so to let a function return a value, we use return statement. Okay, So let's again define our function. Let's say define, suppose our function name is very small, we can write g. So function's name is g, so define g, and inside g there is a variable called x. So this will work as a parameter, and what we are returning is we are returning 10 times x. So whatever user will provide, whatever value user will provide, we will multiply it with 10. As you can see, when numbers are there, or when integers or float values are there, there is no need to use double inverted commas. But when strings are being used, or when alphanumeric characters are being used, so we have to use these single or double quotes. So we can see there is a syntax. So we have to use return statement here. So just type return and 10 multiplied by x. Now here when you will use g of something like g of 5 maybe, so you will simply get 50. So to let a function return a value, you can use the return statement. So that's how we create functions. Using this knowledge about function, or using these examples of function, and using the prior knowledge of Python variables and data types and operators, try creating some interesting tool. And as you can see, these values can be taken in variables. You can simply type input to get these values from users, and then taking values from users, you can do something in your function. Try creating something, and if you have any doubt, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching this tutorial about functions in Python. Have a nice day.